Grab a tea. Hey everyone, this is Siren. Welcome back to the channel. Today I feel like filming a very cozy, very chill video. Just going through some of my tarot and witchcraft books that I recently got. And by recently I mean in the in the second half of the previous year. Some of them arrived this January, so okay, let's say second half of the last year and the very beginning of this year. So basically the books that I consider pretty recent, and a part of these books just arriving to my collection. These are also the books that I read currently, books that I refer to, books that I study in some cases because some of them are a little bit complicated. We are gonna get into that. And yeah, these are basically the books that I'm immersed in these days. So if you're interested to see which ones I'm talking about and maybe give me your opinion, I have a hair in my mouth, and maybe give me your opinion on these books, then definitely keep watching, make yourself comfortable, grab yourself something delicious to drink, and let's get into the video. So I hope you're back with your tea, coffee, chocolate, something delicious. I'm actually trying out this blueberry tea. Not a particular super famous brand of tea or anything, it's just a supermarket tea. But with a blueberry flavor, and I'm obsessed. I mean, it's so incredibly delicious. It literally smells like fresh blueberries and it tastes like blueberries, and I'm in love with it. So you guys, I love blueberries. This is just a little completely unnecessary side note, because welcome to my channel, we do those here. Okay, enough about blueberries, and I'm actually gonna put the mug aside for a little bit so I can actually be showing you some books. So I'm actually going to be showing you both tarot books and some witchcraft / spirituality books. I don't really know how to categorize these, and you will hopefully understand what I mean when I get to those. But I decided I'm going to begin with something pretty simple, which is the category of my tarot books that I recently got. I was gonna do the recently because again, some of these books I got few months ago, but I still do consider them recent because I'm still pretty much reading them and coming back to them. So without further ado, let me begin with the book number 1. I'm actually not going to be numbering them, so forget about that. Let's just begin with a book, the book. And it is the Book of Thought. So this is actually a book that I got around the time when I got my Thought deck, which, now that I think about it, it wasn't really the second half of the last year. I got my Thought deck in the first half of the last year, and so this book is probably in my collection since the first half of the last year. However, I still do consider this one a pretty recent one, because if you had the chance to put your hands on the Book of Thought, you will know that this is not a book that you just read and you are done with it. This book is pretty complicated because it's written by Aleister Crowley, and Aleister Crowley had this thing about his writing that he was just making everything just sound so incredibly complicated. He's referencing a lot of other works of his that I actually do not have, so sometimes it's pretty confusing to read that one. I think the main problem with this book would be that Crowley is trying to teach you everything in this book. Pretty much, he is just referring back to everything. He's trying to give you everything, and therefore it is a little bit like, wait, what? Like, can you go slower? And therefore this is the book that you have to come back to again and again and again. So yes, I got it in the first half of the last year with my Thought Tarot. I started reading it, actually I'm about, I have a bookmark here. I'm sort of in the middle, not sure if it's going to focus or not. But yeah, I'm sort of in the middle of it because a part of me picking this book up for actually referencing the cards when I'm working with the cards, I am also trying to read this book cover to cover, and I found it to be super interesting. Don't get me wrong, it's complicated, it's confusing, but it's super interesting. I love this book. But yeah, reading it cover from cover once is not gonna be enough. So I think this book is probably going to be pretty relevant in my tarot practice and my reading situation for a long time. So yes, it's in my collection for almost a year, but it still feels pretty recent, it still feels very relevant, and it's still something I am going to very often these days. I'm not really going to be reading you the back section or anything of the sorts. I think everyone is pretty familiar with this one in tarot world anyway. And if you're a tarot beginner and you are eyeing this book, I would say, like, I would never discourage any beginner from getting any sort of book, because I think that even if you will probably not understand everything in this book, I mean, I don't understand it either, come on now, it's still an interesting read, it's still an interesting piece of work, and I would recommend it to pretty much anyone. But maybe if you're a beginner, get some other book as well. And I'm going to tell you which one might actually help a bit in a moment, so giving you hints about what the next book is going to be actually about. So, The Book of Thought by Aleister Crowley. So the next book, kind of following the thought topic, as I kind of suggested a moment ago, is Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thought Tarot, written by Duquette. His name is actually Lon Milo Duquette. I'm not sure how to pronounce this name, excuse me. This is the book I got fairly recently. This is actually from the second half of the last year. And I got this book precisely because I wanted some sort of a companion to the Book of Thought. Because the Book of Thought, as I mentioned, can be pretty challenging, and I really wanted something written by someone else, someone who studied Crowley for many years, someone who is familiar with the Thought Tarot, someone who is familiar with the entire, environment that Aleister Crowley was basically moving in his life, during his life. So I started reading this book. I then stopped for a moment because I was in some other place mentally and emotionally, and I wasn't really grabbing books. But I recently grabbed it again and I started reading it for half an hour every day. So this is actually the main book that I'm currently going through, and so far I'm really loving it. I will give you my full opinion when I finish it, because again, I'm intending to work with this book both as a reference point. So when I'm going to be doing my readings, I'm going to be checking the lovely Mr. Duquette's opinion on the cards. But I also intend to read this book cover to cover because I find it super interesting. So I'm gonna see how that goes, and then I'm going to give you an actual honest opinion about how I feel about this book. It is not a new book, by the way. This is not like super amazing reviewing a new book on the market. However, I do have to say it is the new edition. It says right here. And I don't know in what year it was actually printed. If you have this book, let me know if you have this edition. Oh, okay, this edition first published in 2017. Okay, so this is the 2017 edition. So I don't know, let me know if you have this edition or some previous one. This one had a really interesting introduction written by Duquette that I found very interesting and entertaining, and I'm really intrigued by this book. I'm gonna say that, I'm really intrigued by this one. Again, a little mention, if you're a tarot beginner, I am not sure yet if I recommend you this book or not. Probably, I have a feeling I am going to be able to recommend it, because again, it is supposed to be a little bit of a making understanding Aleister Crowley's Thought Tarot easier. So I suppose you can grab this book. I suppose you will be a little bit less confused than by the Book of Thought, but get that one as well, because I always say, I don't know if I have said it on the channel or not, but I always say and think that getting the original writing of someone, if you really want to get into some topic, is always a good idea. So this is why I recommend the Crowley's original work, because it will give you the feeling of like, okay, you're really reading the point of view of a person who actually created the deck. So yeah, but Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thought Tarot by Duquette, yeah, giving it a go, giving it a chance right now. We will see how I feel about it once I finish. Next up, we are gonna have a little sip of the tea, you and I, so grab your tea, have a sip with me. Yay! Okay. Now we are gonna proceed with another tarot book I recently got. This is a book that actually arrived just a few days ago, so I haven't really had a chance to actually dive into that, and also since I'm reading about the thought, I wanted to kind of focus on that for a while and then jump into this one. And the book in question is very famous, The Pictorial Key to Tarot, written by Arthur Edward Waite. Yes, this is one of the absolute classics, and I decided to get this paperback edition, even though a hardback edition was available. I don't know, I have a thing for paperback books. I find them easier to carry around, easier to travel with, easier to actually read. So I got this one. Okay, don't get at me, I got this one. Okay, this is the book that basically delves into the original Rider-Waite-Smith tarot. It is literally written by the creator of the very famous RWS. So, why did I get this book if I don't really have the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot? Because, yeah, side note, hey, if you are new to the channel, I actually do not work with Rider-Waite-Smith tarot as such. I do not own that copy of the deck. However, I am familiar with obviously with the meanings, images. I actually read tarot based on this system, and I'm recently trying to switch to something else. But why did I get this one? Because I have seen this book referenced so many times. I have seen like little bits and pieces of it, you know, and I was like, I don't actually have this book in my collection, and it would be actually wise to have it and actually read it as in the book form, like cover to cover. Again, I love doing that. So yeah, as a tarot reader, I should probably have read this actual book at least once, right? A part of me knowing these cards already, I don't think it's going to be like a mind-blowing new information, because as I mentioned, I do read tarot based on this system. I am very familiar with these images, you know. Oh, by the way, I haven't shown you. They're actual images of the cards, but they're in black and white. Okay, I can't see if you can see now. So, what was I saying? I am familiar with these, so I don't think it's gonna be like super mind-blowing. And also, the actual information provided by lovely Arthur Edward Waite is like, it's pretty small. So, yeah, I haven't gotten this book in order to enrich my tarot knowledge as I intended with the Thought tarot books, but I got this one because I really want to have that feeling again of just reading the original, just reading Arthur Edward Waite, because he was, even though he's not my favorite esoteric person, he still was very important. So I thought I should give this book a go, as in actually have an actual pictorial key to tarot and be able to reference it, flip through it, and also, as I mentioned previously, I want to read cover to cover as well, so it's not just like random pieces of information from this book, but have an actual experience of having read this book. So, Pictorial Key to Tarot. Oh, and since I already started this little recommendation for beginners section that I haven't even planned on doing, but apparently there's something I'm doing right now. So, beginners, I can definitely tell you that you should get this book again, because it is the original. It is the original writing, so it will give you something, even though I think it's also a little bit confusing sometimes, because it's not really on how to read the cards necessarily, or at least not in the sections of the cards. I'm not sure about the introduction to the book, the preface. I'm not sure about that, haven't read that. But when it comes to the actual cards information, it's not so much about how to read it, you know. Let me just check it real quick. Yeah, no, yeah, it sounds pretty weird, but you know, people in that time when it was written originally, I'm not even sure. So this particular edition that I got right here was printed in 2012, but it was first published in 1959. So yeah, in 1959 people were speaking in a little bit of a weird way. We're gonna have to forgive them for that. And also, both Arthur Edward Waite and Aleister Crowley were members of this magical order called Golden Dawn, and they couldn't really reveal the secrets of tarot as such, so they were doing so in these books in a very cryptic and annoying way. So just keep that in mind, but get this book. If you're a beginner, get this book anyway, okay, among some other books that you might want to read or other resources that you want to come to. Okay, and the last book in the tarot section, now you can probably guess it by now because I'm kinda making a theme here. And if you saw the video where I'm speaking about my tarot goals for 2025, if you haven't, go ahead and check it out afterwards. I am kind of focusing on studying the classics this year. This is one of the goals. Spoiler alert, whatever. So the last book I decided to get, and this one is going to be, let me just tell you, I'm really curious about when am I actually going to be able to actually finish this one, because this one seems like a lot. And without further ado, I decided to get The Way of Tarot, written by Alejandro Jodorowsky. And why? Why this book? Because alongside the Thought Tarot and a little bit of Rider-Waite-Smith, I decided that this year I also want to get a bit more familiar, well, not a bit more familiar, I want to start getting familiar with the Marseille deck. And I know there are plenty of books on Marseille, but for some reason I have seen this author mentioned quite a lot, and I have seen this book referenced and also talked about a lot. So if you are a Marseille expert, or if you have more knowledge of Marseille than me right now, let me know in the comment section if this book is any good or not. It's huge, by the way. It's look at it. It's really freaking huge. And this one is not at all like the other one, like for example the pictorial Key to Tarot. This is a full, like, I'm just flipping through it. This is an actual full book full of text, you know, like there is plenty of stuff written everywhere, and it's okay, I'm not gonna show you this one. Sorry, I just landed on the Devil card. So there are like symbols and a lot of words and explanations, and I don't even know if the camera is focusing, by the way. Excuse me if it's not. Anyway, just so you can have an idea, this is really not like 4 or 5 phrases like lovely Arthur Edward Waite gave us. No, Alejandro gives us like a lot, okay? So this is going to be something to get through, but I'm really curious and interested in what this person has to say. Also, I once watched a video that this person made, because apparently he made a video or makes videos, I don't know. But I watched one of this video where he was talking about the majors in Marseille, and I found it super interesting. So this is another reason why I decided to give this book a go. And something I need to mention, I know that Alejandro also made a deck, a Marseille deck. Guess what? I don't like it. So I did not get that one. I have different Marseille deck, and I'm going to be showing it to you on the channel probably as I'm going to be going through this book. Maybe get ready for some Marseille themed videos, because this is gonna be something. Again, if you have this book, if you have any experience with it, if you read it, let me know if it's any good. With that being said, that would be the last tarot book that I got lately. So as you can see, these are all these books are pretty much classics. None of these books is any new heartbreaking groundbreaking, I want to say. Any of these books is a new groundbreaking sensational book. It's literally the classics. I'm really serious about really getting into classics and really delving into it, diving deep. So I'm going to be reading these, and I'm going to be giving you updates throughout the year, if you like, about how I'm actually going with this. As I said, so far I'm reading the understanding of Aleister Crowley's Thought Tarot by Duquette. This is the one that I decided to read every day. So yeah, so far there is that, but I'm gonna see how I feel about jumping into this one, because this one I feel is gonna need a lot of my attention, and I didn't want to be reading both about Marseille and Thought like on the same day. I really want to let the information sit a little bit in my head, you know, and then maybe add more to it. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna work it out. I'm gonna see how I'm gonna go about it. Okay, I'm a chaotic person as such, so it's gonna be a challenge, but I'm gonna see, and I'm gonna let you know if you like. So with that being said, let's have another sip of the coffee. Not the coffee, a tea. I love coffee so much today I forget that sometimes I drink tea as well. So let's have another sip before we keep talking. And with that being said, this sweater is falling all the time, but I love it so much. With that being said, let's proceed with the second category of this video, of these books that I got, which is like witchcraft / spirituality / philosophy books. I'm gonna get into that. So let's go. The very first book I'm gonna be talking about is actually the one that I got on my trip in Latin America, in Chile. So it's a book in Spanish, and I have no clue if you can get that in English anywhere, and I'm not even sure if you would be interested in that particular topic because it's pretty specific. Now the book is called Mitología Azteca, which translates to Aztec mythology. The author is Javier Tapia, and it was a part of this like series of different mythologies. I haven't started reading this one actually. I really wanted to read it on the plane while traveling back, but I got sick and I had super high fever during my travels, so I was not reading shit on the airplane. I was just trying to freaking survive the fever. So yeah, and I haven't started reading it yet. It's super small, it's relatively small. Yeah, no, it's super small. And it's basically about Aztec mythology, as the title suggests. And I am super obsessed with Aztec mythology because I just find it super interesting. And also, as you might know, I worship and sometimes work with La Santa Muerte. And La Santa Muerte has her roots in Aztec mythology, actually. Some people might want to fight on that topic, but she has roots in Aztec mythology, okay? She's not a Catholic saint. Actually, I was thinking about making a video getting a little bit more into that topic, but I was like terrified to do that. Because for some reason I'm terrified that people are just gonna attack me for my opinions or for talking about her. But I'm kinda building the courage up, so maybe that video will be up on the channel sometime soon, who knows. But yeah, this is basically why I'm interested in Aztec mythology. And also I have one oracle deck, the Jade Oracle, or El Oráculo Jade, which is one of my favorite oracle decks, and it's also about Aztec mythology, so that one kind of got me into the Aztec mythology topic, because in the booklet there is a lot written about each aspect of the mythology. So on every card there is either a different deity or a different sort of tradition that Aztecs would do, and the booklet kind of scratches the surface of that, and I was really wanting to find a book that would basically walk me through their mythology a little bit more. And when I saw this little book in the bookstore in Santiago, I was like, I have to have this one, I need it, and it's in Spanish, and I love reading in Spanish because it's really easy. It's actually easier for me than reading in English, so I was super happy to have found this one. So yay, very happy about it. Proceeding, I got a classic. This is actually another classic, and I was a little bit hesitant whether to get this book or not, but after all I decided to get it because... Okay, let me first show you the book, then I'm gonna talk about it. So I also got it during my travels in Santiago, so it's also in Spanish, and the title and everything is in Spanish, so I'm going to translate it real quick for you. It's Scott Cunningham's Incense, Oils and Brews, I believe is the name in English. And why was I hesitant about getting this book? Well, first of all, because Scott Cunningham was a Wiccan, And by the beginning of my practice, I was really, as the majority of witchcraft practitioners, I found Wicca. Wicca was my introduction to witchcraft, and I found out later on that Wicca wasn't really my thing, so I don't even call myself a previous former Wiccan. I don't think I deserve to be called that, if you know what I mean. Like, I wasn't practicing Wicca for long enough to call myself a former Wiccan. It just doesn't feel right with me. It just doesn't sit right. However, I still think that Scott Cunningham is a very interesting person. I have read some of his work, but I have never read this one. So, a little context. I was at this book market. It was like a street book market in Santiago, where I was spending a few weeks by the end of the year. And I found this book, so it wasn't really like I was looking for that book. I just found it on the book market, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give it a chance. Also, another thing, I am really interested in getting to know a little bit more about magical oils. I have made a few oils in my life, and I really love the oil usage. And I thought that it might be really interesting to read someone else's, take on making magical oils, because it's actually something that really interests me and something I really do enjoy. So yeah, it's basically the oils that got me. But I'm really curious about the incense and the brews as well. So, yeah. So I'm eager to read some Scott Cunningham. Who would have thought? And also I believe it's gonna feel a little bit nostalgic, because as I mentioned, Scott Cunningham was someone I basically started my witchcraft by reading his work. So yeah, something a little bit nostalgic, something that makes me thrilled and happy and emotional, and I'm just curious about what Scott has to say about all these amazing topics. Okay, and the last book that I decided to get was something that actually came into my collection a little bit randomly, but I still love it. I still love how stuff aligned, and by stuff aligned I mean, when you are buying some stuff online and you have some things in your cart, and then there is this little phrase telling you that if you buy something in such and such price, you can get free delivery. Okay, so when I was ordering my tarot books, there was this phrase, the camera overheated, and I'm not quite sure what was the last thing I was saying, but I think it was something in lines that I was ordering the tarot books and I was supposed to get some more books to get free delivery. So I was browsing through the spirituality and tarot books and etc. And I got across this beautiful, and let me say again, beautiful, otherworldly, beautiful edition of the Kabbalion, the Hermetic philosophy, and I'm just so excited about this one. Again, not sure if this is okay. Yeah, I was just checking if I'm showing it to you in the right way. I was just so excited about this one because it's like super small. This one isn't paperback because, as I mentioned, I love paperbacks, but this one is super handy. It's like in a fake leather or something, so I really love the touch. I love touching it. And I'm very excited to have this one because the Kabbalion is actually something I'm familiar with. I first heard about it and was reading and hearing about it a few years back. I believe it was before the pandemic, to be precise. And I was really into it for a while because I found it to be also something like the base of magic, or you can at least use those principles to work your magic, in my opinion. But again, I have never actually had the physical book, like the physical copy of these principles written down, the Kabbalion, in my hands. And when I saw this one, it actually wasn't even that expensive, and I thought, okay, first of all I can get free delivery, and the second of all I can have the actual copy of Kabbalion, so I can read it cover to cover, not just bits and pieces like I was doing when I was first getting into that. And I can refer back to it and have it on my shelf and actually maybe even get more into these hermetic principles a little bit more, because I really found them super interesting. So yes, I decided to get this one and I'm really happy about it. Haven't started actually reading it. Again, I know what it is about. I know everything about those principles. Okay, not everything, so I don't sound too arrogant or something. I mean, I know the contents of this book, but I want to give it a read. I just haven't yet, because again, the understanding of Aleister Crowley's Thought Tarot was taking all my time. But I'm going to read this one as some sort of like a relaxing reading, since I'm familiar with these things. This is the word I was looking for, not that I know everything about it. I'm familiar with it. That's it. That sounds better and way more authentic. So yeah, the Kabbalion. Okay, so with that being said, these would be all the books that I recently got on tarot and witchcraft / spirituality. See, now I don't know if the second category is witchcraft or spirituality or the mix of two, because the Scott Cunningham is something witchcraft related, but then the Kabbalion, it's like magic, spirituality, and the Aztec mythology is more so spirituality. I don't know. The titles doesn't even matter. The point is, I show you all the books that I recently got and that I'm recently reading. Okay, as you could see, I'm actively reading one of these so far, but I'm going to be getting into these the best way I can, and I'm really excited, y'all. I'm really excited because also I really love books. I was always such a bookworm. I just haven't really been gathering so many books because okay, like a little bit of a story time for anyone interested. If you were only interested in the books I got, you can totally leave the video now, but I invite you to stay and finish the tea with me. And while we are doing that, I'm just gonna tell you, I was always such a bookworm, but since I'm in an international relationship, and I have been for quite a few years now, I haven't really decided yet on where do I actually want to live. And when you are not quite sure where do you actually want to live, it's a little bit hard with physical copies of books, because you see, I got so many books when I was a teenager, and then when I got into my relationship, I left to my partner's country. I went to live to my partner's country, and I had to leave all these books in my country, like at my mom's place and dad's place. And then while I was living there, I got some books, and then we went to live into my country again, so I had to leave some books in my partner's country. And now that we are living here in Europe again, I'm getting books again, and I'm really fearful about the moment when we decide to just go somewhere else again, because I just really don't want to be leaving books behind anymore, but they're just so heavy. You know, like when you're changing apartments, when you're moving into another continent, it's pretty difficult to bring books with you. So this is why I wasn't really getting physical copies of books. But now I decided that I really wanted to have physical copies of these classic tarot books, as well as some little of these books that I showed you. So this was unasked for a little story time behind why I actually don't have so many physical books. Well, that's why. I would love to have them. Like, once I have my actual place to live, I want to have like a huge bookshelf with like so many books, but I would have to gather all of my books from all over the world. That's sounds crazy, I know. Okay. With that being said, I hope you finished your tea. I haven't. I'm gonna do it later because I talk too much. I know. But I was just enjoying here with you and these books and this amazing blueberry tea. So, if you like this video, please leave it a like and consider subscribing. It would make me really happy. Also, if you want to hang out with me a little longer, I invite you to watch other videos available on my channel. And to make it quick, I'm just going to just finish the video here before I continue rambling for too long. So please stay kind, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Bye bye.